getting ready. They're looking focused. They're looking intense. The Towel Terran on the right has his towel ready and spawning over in the bottom left to start things off on Alcyone. It is the Red Zerg Shopify Rebellion's Scarlett.
And her opponent all the way in the opposite corner of the map, it's GuMiho. Yeah, that series that she played early on in this event, as we actually have a drone rush, we're gonna go for a proxy hatchery bet? Okay, you know what? I wanted to talk about Hydralisk for a minute, but I guess that'll have to wait until a later time. Okay, it's not a command center first. That could have been an absolute disaster. We've seen a lot of CC first on the low ground before any barracks without any scouting. That's not the strategy we see right here for GuMiho, but this is still a very scary Zerg opener. We've got ourselves a hatchery, well aggressively positioned close to the natural expansion of the Terran, followed up with a spawning pool.
Yeah, I mean, Terrans, if you are to scout in this matchup with an SCV, you usually do it with your barracks SCV, which is very late. I mean, it gets you to know whether it's hatch first or pool first, then you can like save your SCV back at home, but this is so different, and I mean, this is very close as well. It's not as if it's down in the hatchery and stuff. Like, I remember the old school getting the spines, dealing with the wall at the front, but...
No, this is roaches. Has to be. I think there's going to be a roach warren popping down here as soon as that spawning pool is done. Of course, you do have that spawning pool requirement for it. This is... Yeah, there it is. Okay, it's a little bit closer there. This is effectively like a 12-pool roach rush, but then with a hatchery on the other side of the map.
This makes me think that Scarlett might have done her homework a little bit here. And when I say might have done, definitely did. Like, GuMiho without a scout here at all, so...
Is this a Reaper or Marine first? Has to be Reaper. Right?
It's got to be a Reaper. Like, you got to get that vision, got to get to know what you're doing. And depending on where he goes with this Reaper, this could be one of those situations where it's like, does he spot the creep in? Yeah, okay. And then you're like, oh, you saw him on the webcam there. That was like a, what the hell? What's going on here? Yeah, mate, you've got a hatchery outside your base. This is going to be a weird one already.
Immediately, he stopped producing that command center. He decides to go for a bunker on the low ground instead. That does mean that he wants to hold on to this low ground to the best of his abilities. The problem is that he doesn't really know exactly what he's going up against. There's a variety of strategies. He doesn't see any spine crawlers at the very least, so that will make life a little easier. But finishing up that command center and protecting the high ground is massive.
I actually like what he's done here, like getting those bunkers up. Granted, you don't have enough to fill them both up, but it's about just keeping them alive. And against roaches, you're not going to be able to repair just one against it. And you see the urgency on him here. He's like, okay, I need to get this second bunker. And so far, I like what he's bringing. That Ravager is most likely going to make it, especially with one roach joining the fray here as well.
Yeah, she's not convinced. So it does pop up with full HP again after it finishes up. It takes about 7 biles to one-shot a bunker, so as long as there are enough SCVs ready to repair, this can buy a ton of time at the very least, right? Cyclone is coming up. There's no reactor or anything available here for GuMiho to really pump those units out 2 at a time. Starport on the production tab too. I guess ideally what you really want to get to is a Banshee, but that feels like it's miles away.
It certainly does, but I got to commend GuMiho for this. This is stellar defense. He didn't get a reactor. It was just like pumping out Marines. He knew the urgency of this. That Ravager count is climbing, but Ravagers, they're squishy, man. They won't be able to stick around, and oh my goodness, losing one immediately, that is brutal. And you see one bunker does fall, but Scarlett needs way more than this. Morphing in a Ravager at front, I think that one's doomed over there, most likely. And remember, every unit counts here. This is a disaster for Scarlett.
Yeah, I think we've now lost about 3 Ravagers here and a Roach in exchange for essentially just a bunker, which is certainly not worth it here whatsoever. That command center, of course, is long done as well. It's, by the way, a medevac first, so GuMiho ready to just do a little bit of that fancy micro. Pretend, I guess, that these are immortals over here and that we have a warp prism on the back of this. Okay, it's the one Roach right there that got morphed into a Ravager that ended up getting sniped.
I mean, this is not what Scarlett wanted. Like, GuMiho acted very good. He took he wasn't building the CC for quite some time here. Yeah. Just really prioritized those bunkers. Has to keep it alive, though. This is one of those things where if you played against Bly back in the olden days, it was like, all right, I'm out of the woods, right? I'm out of the woods, right? And then it's like, no, because this is never going to stop. And she is droning up behind this. Does take out the bunker, but at what cost here? This is a absolute disaster for Scarlett at the front here.
Yeah, this is by no means a successful opener here for the Zerg player. Good defense for GuMiho. because he didn't know exactly what he was playing against. Right now, this battle over here, it's looking half decent for the Zerg here, right? Micro maybe could have been slightly better. The problem is that there's no longevity anymore. We have 3 Roaches coming up. There should be more and more Cyclones coming. There's a Banshee on the production tab too. As soon as that one pops, this is over.
Yeah, absolutely. Or at least the offense is over. I mean, she is trying to drone up back at home, but there's no natural hatch on the way either. I mean, Cloak coming online now. If you ask any of the Zerg pros watching this in the green room right now, it's like, oh, how is this going for Scarlett? They're like, she's dead. Beyond dead. Like, absolutely get out of here.
GG at like minute 2.5.
Yeah, because this isn't like there's queens at the front either to do transfusions or shoot up. This is just... This squad over here just wants to buy as much time as possible, but for what? For what? And now the Cyclones go across the map. Brutal, brutal. GuMiho's handled this to absolute perfection. And I like also that he didn't go into tanks, realizing like, hey, yeah, they're good in a position, but...
Yeah, and the medevac first is actually really cool. It reminds me a lot of a prison with 2 immortals. Obviously, it functions very differently, but it can put on a lot of pressure, and it has a ton of micro potential. Overlord going down here. 2 trophies here as well. Yeah, this is going from bad to worse right now for Scarlett. She did make a bunch of drones on the back of this, but she's still mining both gases in the main base too, so I'm not exactly sure what the plan is. There's really no follow-up. GuMiho here is dancing with the Cyclones, maybe not, you know, perfect control right here for our Terra player, but the problem is that, well, for the Zerg at least, that this game is pretty much impossible to win.
Yeah, I mean, impossible. 1 base Zerg, and you see Scarlett looking a bit down in the dumps over there, but it was a nice attempt, just relying on GuMiho to not have such a good response to all this. GuMiho's like, you know what? 3rd CC on the go. I mean, okay, can we have a quick look at the resources lost tab as well amidst all of this?
3rd command center, by the way, coming up.
Yeah, I mean, her income, like 21 drones to 37 SCVs. Absolutely brutal. I mean, it's good for Scarlett to stay in to some degree, just to feel the stage, get a little bit warmed up, but I don't think there's any coming back from this one.
The defense was really well handled though by Gumi. I loved what he did there. Pulling the SCV that was building the command center away for just a moment. GG is cold, by the way. GuMiho indeed does obtain the victory, but pulling the SCV that was building the command center down to build a bunker instead, 2nd bunker to buy additional time, and then a 3rd SCV ultimately finish that command center. That's the small level decision making, right? That is absolutely critical in a game like this, because with only 1 bunker, that would have been a lot harder to handle.
Absolutely, and this like the 2nd SCV that came down, it wasn't to carry on with the CC, it was for another bunker. Just
yeah, the 3rd one ultimately brought it.
Yeah, like it was just very nice play, very nicely handled. Economically, he realized that, hey, I don't need to pump out the SCVs, don't need to necessarily get the CC up faster against this, because she's already putting herself behind economically. I wonder what he's thinking with the shaking of the head, because I look at that and I'm like, do you think you did something wrong that game? Because I actually think you did a lot of stuff right. Maybe some of the micro, like you talked about, lost a couple of Cyclones with the medevac, but then did the cheeky warp prism micro almost with the Cyclone. But yeah, Scarlett, I don't hate that she went for that, because he didn't scout with an SCV, but I'm just...
You can't hope for much more than that other than a command center first, right? And the odds of a command center first, like they've been pretty big in this tournament overall. But GuMiho, in my mind, is not really a CC first type of Terran. I mean, he does mix it in, of course, but in game number 1 of a series, I mean, maybe in game number 2. Now I wouldn't mind it, but I'm not exactly sure what Scarlett could have really hoped for there other than another command center.
It's just hoping that, like, the bunker's going to be late or there's only 1 bunker.
Yeah.
But GuMiho was very, very, like, safe about that. So nicely done out of him. 2nd map in this series will be on Solaris. Now, I have no idea what the veto situation was like. Alcyone does tend to be a bit of a weird map, can be absolutely, but when it comes to playing against GuMiho, I think Scarlett just wanted to take the game by the horns and play her game, what she's practiced against him. Because GuMiho can do it all, and that's some, like, even PCs. I know we haven't seen him for a long time, but he can do that too.
I'm a fan of it. Either way, game number 2, we find ourselves on the map indeed on Solaris. And spotting right here in the bottom left-hand corner from Canada, representing the Rebellion, it's Scarlett.
And 1 map away from guaranteeing a top 12 at this year's Katowice. Spawning over in the top right as our blue Terran, Cloud9's GuMiho.
I guess we will never learn what GuMiho had prepared for us in that game. If there was something cheeky, maybe a battle cruiser or so, we didn't get there.
We did not get that Loco, we did not. And we've seen a lot of really cool openings from Terran in this tournament, mainly from Maru. Like, he's been beyond greedy, and it feels like him and Bjorn, like Bjorn brought back the Macarax against Firefly. We saw Maru bring back one, like Rax first, no gas, CC, and then third CC against Reyna, which was like, that truly is like
it was command center, barracks, another command center. It was like, a CC first even. It was even greedier. Yeah, it was insane. Like, no scouting, no. If that would have been the build Scarlett went up against in the previous game, because that was on El Sayani too, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, if that would have been the build that Scarlett went up against, we would have called the strategy absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those things where it's like, I love how the meta shifts, the meta changes for a big tournament like this. This is where these builds are absolutely saved up, because you don't see them done. Like, you don't, absolutely. But Scarlett going for a far more normal opener here. It will be hatch first on the low ground, pool afterwards, and then drones on the gas.
Absolutely. Reaper first right here for GuMiho. Nothing all too strange. I'm fully expecting for him to just play that standard triple command center opener, so that would be a third command center before the starport. It's going to be a Reaper into a Marine. We'll probably see a factory here in just a moment. No gas taken just yet, so we do expect that third command center to be coming up momentarily.
And if you guys are wondering what that sock puppet is doing over there on the mouse pad, that is how GuMiho flies and always has done. The towel Terran, just keep his hand nice and dry over there. Bit of a sweaty boy when it gets intense and stuff, but he's always done this and still manages to play extremely well with it. And here the Reaper does show up. Just going to tickle these lings, see if it can get any damage done whatsoever. And this is just a bit of a skill check with your opponent. Has to be careful though. Queen will... Ooh, very close to getting popped over there.
You know, in the early days of StarCraft II, it was only really GuMiho who has excessive sweat in his hands, apparently, who used to play with a towel, but I've seen a lot of the other players also mixing it in from time to time.
Maru now as well.
Yeah, he plays with a little towel, a tiny towel. Not as big as GuMiho's.
Like, okay, GuMiho has his towel like over his hand.
Yeah, this is extreme.
I wonder if he has it all wrapped around, so it's also between him and the mouse. Like, it must be.
It has to be, right? Because otherwise, if it gets stuck...
I think
underneath.
It is. It's a little sock puppet playing. This is great. And Maru has like a little fan now as well.
Yeah.
That's really cool, I think. But yeah, it's that 3cc that you talked about. So one gas to get all that infrastructure going. A couple of Hellions on the way, getting a Marine out as well. That Marine can be used to deny an Overlord if it is to fly into his base later on. And follow-up-wise, I mean, the world is GuMiho's oyster, and keep eyes on how many gases he takes before he starts throwing down infrastructure, because that can be a massive tell as to whether it's mech or actually bio. Ooh, Viking first.
Yeah, Viking first is a little bit funky. It doesn't necessarily mean all too much, but it is going to be pushing back any Overlords. Luckily here for Scarlett, she doesn't really have any Overlords on the other side of the map that need to be pushed back. But it is going to make that vision a little bit trickier, right? So one thing we'll see very frequently is one of the Hellions actually gets stuck. One thing we'll see very frequently is the Overlords a little bit ahead of the creep spread of the Zerg. And the idea of that is that you can keep track of where those Hellions are located, move your Queens in the right position, and then spread creep in the direction that the Hellions are not moving into. If there is a Viking out, like the one that GuMiho has just produced, it's quite annoying for the Zerg, because you need to pull those Overlords further back. The Queens are going to have to anticipate where the Hellions are going to have to go, and the creep spread, yeah, sometimes it kind of feels like you need to get a bit lucky.
And one thing that's really curious, okay, I was going to say he hasn't taken extra gases yet at all, and it will be a medevac follow-up, so looking to deny all the vision around the base. Hellions will be, I guess, in 2 different locations here, but 2 extra gases, this still doesn't truly signify that it is going to be a mech build or anything like that just yet, but
there's
still,
a tech lab finished now.
There's a lot of Hellions, man. Like, this is going to be a lot of Hellions, and I think it is going to be a mech build this game.
This is a very late Benchy transition, though. Yeah, it is going to be a Benchy here indeed for GuMiho. I thought for a second maybe he can like squeeze out a Raven or something like that. All the Hellions not in multiple locations. We're just going to group them up together, go straight into the third base. So far, not getting a lot of worker kills. In the meantime, there's also a Marine Viking drop inside of the main base. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool, man. That's actually very
hard to deal with. That's so many of those units going down over at the third. Now the drones are in some trouble inside of the main base. Lynx will be running on over. There they are, but there's really not that many of them.
There's not that many, and this little nook here, this is already quite a bit of damage done. Double armory on the way as well before you add on anything else. So this Banshee also, like, it isn't Cloak. It's almost like a safety Banshee here, but I like how Scarlett handled the Hellions, but this drop, this is super unorthodox. Like, GuMiho truly is like a Swiss Army knife. Like,
yes.
He built a Viking, we're like, yeah, it's going to do Overlord stuff, right? It did that, but then it joins this little Marine drop as well. Proper cool.
This is a very greedy mech opener, though, from GuMiho, because he went very late, second and third gas, as we do have the Hellions driving back in. They're hunting for more drones. Will they be able to get them? Nice body blocking there by those workers from the Zerg. A lot of Hellions have fallen in this game already, but they only cause minerals.
Scarlett's in trouble. She's in a lot of trouble.
She's in loads of trouble.
Like this little nook over here that, you know, the Zerglings couldn't get on top of the Viking, which was dealing most of the damage there. It was the Marines getting healed up. And we've got 1-1 mech starting at the same time as +1 melee, +1 carapace. Like,
this is so greedy, though, here from Gumi, because those gases were super late. This is a full mech transition with 2 armories before a second factory. So the amount of units that GuMiho is going to be able to produce is relatively low. If this would have been a Roach opener, I think life could have been, well, very scary here for the Zerg, or for the Terran, because GuMiho doesn't have any siege tanks, any cyclones, none of that.
Scarlett does now know what she's up against, though. She scouted that third base, saw that there's gases on there already. No bio player makes this many Hellions and has gases over there. The Raven's very interesting, though. So the fact that he's going for, like, +1/+1 so fast, getting the Cyclone upgrade as well, getting the Raven online, and now the Banshees come as well.
Wow.
Yumi's just... Like, this is not normal. This is not normal play whatsoever. Like, every unit that he's made, he's used it as a way to attack his opponent. And, I mean, obviously you make battle units, but he's just been proper utilizing every unit possible just to slow down Scarlett, and it's working dividends.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is what we were talking about before the game started, right? If Scarlett can defend everything perfectly, then the mid game is incredibly strong for the Zerg. However, GuMiho throwing 17 curveballs and apparently 18 drones? 18 drones killed in the 7.5 minutes or so that this game has been going on for. This was really just the first step, though, in GuMiho's master plan here. As the 1-1 upgrades are finishing right now, we have the speed upgrade for Cyclones as well. There's a couple of safety siege tanks out. Is that a second Raven? I think we saw 1 Raven already. Yeah, we have Interference Matrix coming up.
Interference Matrix? Okay. I mean, what for? Like, gonna
I mean, it's a pretty cheap upgrade. You're making 2 Ravens, I guess you may as well.
But disabling what exactly? Like, is it gonna be for the Queens or like Vipers later on?
Yeah,
like,
Infestors maybe could be one of the follow-ups right now for Scarlett, because she is in dangerous waters here. That is certainly a little funky, though. Maybe it's one. I think it's only 50 minerals, 50 gas, right? So you can.
It's super cheap.
Yeah, it's super
can be
cheap.
used. I was just thinking, is he gonna use like not the Interference Matrix, rather the anti-armor missile, just to help boost these Cyclones and like the damage done from his low, because he's not going heavily into tanks here. This is a very mobile mech army, but it's going to be good for clearing the creep, obviously, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got a little bit of first-person view right here of Scarlett's vision right now. Banshees are, well, flying around still. That Spore Crawler moved over. Finally, we get some counter damage done as Scarlett sends those links towards the right side of the map, but I do believe that Hellions are present. Okay, well, quite a few SCV kills there. That's not bad at all, but that Planetary Fortress is pretty much going up uncontested, right? And that's really what GuMiho is aiming for right now. Still, though, as much damage as Scarlett has taken in this game, she's all the way up to 163 supply. She does have some decent tech going. Hive starts up right now. We're going to start up our double upgrades. This is an uphill battle, but it's technically manageable. Oh my god, that anti-armor missile is amazing.
It really is. Like, it helps the Hellions against this as well a lot, and just an annoying army, but to be fair to Scarlett, like, she's playing incredibly quick.
Yes.
Like, incredibly quick. Seeing that first-person view was pretty damn awesome, and she's taken a lot of damage from something very weird and wild, but she's got herself more than into this game, 107 drones. That is absolutely wild. And I mean, at some point, obviously, you can change that into a lot of static D. The creep spread's very good as well.
Yeah.
She's almost playing this as if she's willing to lose like a good 20 drones or so, you know?
Absolutely. She's also going missile and melee upgrades at the same time. So this is basically that full glass cannon approach as we have GuMiho trying to get a good trade. Scarlett's army may not take up a lot of supply, but it's still very powerful. And because of those 103 workers, she can easily remax as well. She has a ton of money coming in. So it's just going to be Lings, Roaches, and Ravagers, and maybe some Banelings in a moment as well, with Centrifugal Hooks finishing up in 10 seconds. This is still certainly manageable, right? GuMiho, he's gotten away with murder at the first stage of this game, but yeah, Scarlett has stabilized.
And we're in a game now, Loco, where there is literally 200 workers on the map just gathering stuff out. Like, this is actually wild on both ends. GuMiho has to be careful, because this is kind of like the one moment where Scarlett could potentially bust him. just because of how greedy he's been. And, you know, there isn't a lot of tanks in the mix. In fact, there's one in the north there as well. Will get taken out, but that's a lot of Banelings and a lot of Ravagers.
A speed zone also helping out the Zerg. Banelings trying to get a connection. In the meantime, Hellions are going across the map, but I wonder if GuMiho needed all of those units at home instead. They're going to morph into Hellbats in the picture-in-picture in the bottom right-hand corner of your screens. This base has to be evacuated for now. Scarlett is just going to bottle down as many structures as possible.
Ooh, I think this is starting to look quite good for GuMiho, though. Those Lings, look, the single filing into their Doom against these Hellbats, trading very, very inefficiently. And soon this is going to be a question of how much lava do you have left, Scarlett? Because, yeah, you're rich, but this army right now that's marching across to your side of the map, it's clearing out the creep for free, can just continue to mule down instead of scan for this, and that is a lot of Lings, though. But no, they have to run away. This army's way too big. Scarlett's in so much trouble.
Adrenal Glance is about a half minute or so away from finishing. This is not a high-tech army for the Zerg whatsoever. That anti-armor missile combo, though, is so powerful. Those Queens and Roaches taking more damage than they ordinarily would. The only thing I'm missing here for the Terran is Blue Flame.
I mean, do you need it, though? Like, does it change it from one-shotting or two-shotting? It doesn't at this point, but you're right. And GuMiho, look at that. Ragtag army in the north as well, taking out the hatchery while all this is going off. Scarlett's still 180 supply, but if she could get out a whole army all at once, maybe, but it's all just bleeding on through.
Absolutely. That Banshee just, putting in the work. She needs 3 biles to go down, so not too scared of those two. Scarlett, though, is holding on here, ultimately, right? And she didn't really lose any drones during all of this either. Those went down to a previous attack. Now, apparently, those 2 siege tanks that were used for the base defense, they're going to be killing a hatchery in the middle of the map. The real thing, though, that GuMi has going for him right now is the 3-3 upgrades, right? They are going to hit like a truck.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I don't know how many Ravens he's kept alive either, but Scarlett doing the true thing against mech, which is not getting armor upgrades, but that's against like traditional mech. Against Cyclone mech, they deal so much extra damage to your unit. So these fights, they're not going to look fair soon. They're really not. These Cyclones will start piling on a lot of damage, and this Roach-based army, it's got a lot of work to do because it's meant to always look bigger than your opponents, at least like 200 supply against 160 or so, but we're reaching a point in the game where that's no longer the case, and this is mech. It's very efficient.
Scarlett making a transition, by the way, here to Brute Lords, and that is one of the things that Terrans can certainly be caught off guard with. Against low numbers of Brute Lords, I guess Cyclones can kind of get the job done, but Brute Lords are a bit quicker now since the new multiplayer balance patch, and you do have to respect them as the Terran. That being said, though, GuMiho will obviously have factories with tech labs as well, so he can make a lot of Thors as soon as he sees them. I really love the Raven usage in this game. It's one of those units that I really feel like we have not seen being utilized very much in this matchup. Like, they get mixed in every once in a while against like burrowed infestors and that sort of stuff, but they have been incredibly powerful in this match. Just making those attacking upgrades for those Cyclones even more powerful, right? Because there's just no armor for those Zerg units.
I mean, look how fast these Roaches die now. Normally it feels like you've got little tickle beams going on, but these are no longer tickle beams, Loco. You're absolutely right. And it is so many Cyclones coming out. In fact, can we have a unit count? How many on the map? 20. There's more Cyclones than Roach Raptor.
34.
Yeah, and
34.
Okay, that's a way... Scarlett cannot fight right now. She cannot fight against this. Her whole army is orange, and look how fast these Ravagers start melting against these Cyclones. It is pretty damn rapid. This is looking so dire for Scarlett. She's still maxed out, but that's 28 Roaches in queue, and GuMiho, this is the wildest mech army you can go up against. It's fast, it's furious, it's all over the place.
Yeah, we have a nice little fungal there, but it doesn't really matter because there's no follow-up. 31 Roaches to back up even more Roaches. I mean, that first group didn't do particularly well. The Towel Terran is looking incredible here. He's got more layers to this plan that he's needed, but he does. I think he's just going to overwhelm here. So much.
It's too hard to stop now. It's too hard to stop. Like this damage being done. You cannot fight. You cannot run. What can you do? Scarlett looking dejected over there in the webcam, and GG. GuMiho makes it on to the round of 12 in true GuMiho fashion. That was